while back, I was teaching someone to drive. We were at the very top of the on-ramp to 495, pulling into the flow of traffic, when I noticed that my student driver wasn't looking at the road around us or ahead of us. He was staring into the rearview mirror at what was behind us. Really? I don't remember what I said or yelled at the time, but I do remember the feeling of absolute terror, followed by an incredible sense of relief as we merged safely into that first lane, whole and unscathed. We lived to tell about it. All right, so it was a rookie driving mistake anybody could have made, but looking back behind could have been a deadly error. And you know what? I think the same is true about the way we live our lives. The truth is, looking behind doesn't do us any good at all, whether we're driving or living, because we cannot change what is behind us. I know if tried doesn't work. And the more we live our lives looking in the rearview mirror, focusing on the past, the less likely we are to enjoy the present or to be ready for the future, for all the wonderful things ahead. If you're stuck in the past, if you're tired of reliving the old stories, and you're ready to start focusing on the amazing future ahead, stick around. Truth is, life is all about where you put your focus, what you focus on. And if you've been living your life looking in the rearview mirror, reliving, regretting the thing you said, the thing you didn't say, the thing you did, the thing you didn't do, if you've been focusing on telling your stories about the past full of blame, shame, failure, the story about the time that the terrible thing happened. If you are focused on telling those stories, you miss the power of the present, because the present is where we actually live our lives. The present is where we get to enjoy our lives, all those little moments of comfort or ease, the feeling of being connected, of being loved or loving someone. The present is where we have that wonderful opportunity, that special person, or just that astonishing moment of beauty that takes your breath away, all in the present. The present is the place where we live and where we create our lives. It's where we decide what we want, who we are. It's the place where we feel our emotions. And most importantly, the present is the only place where we can take action. Can't do it in the past, can't do it in the future. The present is the moment of power. This is it. This moment is the place where all our power lies, not in the past and not in the rearview mirror. All right. So looking back is robbing you of your present and your future. How do you switch that focus from the rearview mirror to the present day? The first and most important step is just start telling yourself those old stories differently. And what I mean is to start telling yourself the truth about what really happened back then. I'm asking you to simply report the events. No drama, no exaggerations, no casting yourself as the victim. This is about no more drama about the trauma. Instead, I'm going to ask you to cast yourself as the hero or shero of your story. You're the star. This is your story. And what that means is you are the heart. You are the soul of this story. It's about you and no one else. It's not about what they did to you or said to you. It's about what you did and what you said. And for heaven's sakes, start telling yourself the story with the same kind of kindness and compassion you would show a dear friend. No more calling yourself names and telling yourself you're a loser, failure, you're not good enough, because you are good enough. You and I both know that you're good enough. And no more telling yourself that you I can't handle this, because you did handle it. Whatever happened, you handled it. All right. So let me kind of break it down and give you an example about what I'm talking about. Over the years, I've had all sorts of people say something like this. I was nothing but a miserable loser in middle school. I was alone. I was lonely. No one talked to me. The only friend I had in those long, horrible years was my dog. Okay. That's a really heavy burden to be carrying around. It's a difficult story. Those are difficult things to tell yourself and to believe about yourself. And when we talk about this and explore it a little bit, I'd eventually ask them, is what you're saying really true? Is it really, really true that no one spoke to you in middle school? And we talk about it a little bit, and invariably the story would start to change a little. Well, there were the kids who sat at the loser table. They might say hi to me, or that girl in my English class, or my art teacher, or, the secretary in the office, someone, without exception. Everyone said, yes, there was someone I spoke with in middle school. And as they started to go back and really remember what happened, what turned out, what they'd been telling themselves was true, was really an exaggeration. And the old story, that terrible story of I was alone, would change to something like, well, all right, I guess I did make some connections in middle school. I wasn't completely alone, even though I've been telling myself I was not completely alone, but they would continue because we're not done. People would say something like, well, but things were worse at home. I was never loved or noticed, or I didn't feel safe at home. So I spent almost all my time hanging around with my dog. Only a loser hangs around with a dog, right? And I would point out to them what I see as the absolute truth about that. And that is, every single person who has ever turned to an animal for comfort or love is the exact opposite of a loser. Exact opposite. Because a person who turns to an animal for love or support is incredibly kind, caring, full of empathy and love for another being. And not only that, they're smart enough to find a really positive way to take care of themselves by practicing pet therapy. And, people turn their nose up at pet therapy, but the research shows pet therapy is a really effective tool for feeling better. But maybe, I think most people didn't need to read the research. They felt the connection and they knew to take action. Not a victim, but a really smart person finding a way through. And the truth is, you and I, all of us, we did the best we could at the time. And you know what? Our best back then was good enough. It was good enough. And how do I know? Because you're still here, and so am I. We are still here. We got through. Now, all right, let me be completely honest. Middle school was not my shining hour, but I got through it, and you got through. And if we could get through that, or whatever we went through, I believe we're stronger and smarter and tougher than we have been telling ourselves in that story that we keep telling ourselves. We were not victims. We're folks who went through tough times and we learned how to take care of ourselves. Look, you got through the tough childhood, survived the trauma, the betrayal, the pain, the shame. You're still here. You're still standing. We're still standing. And I say all the time, people like us, folks who have anxiety, have to be, by definition, stronger and braver than the people all around us. We have to have more courage some mornings to get out of bed than other people will ever know. We have to have more guts to get on an airplane or ride the elevator or make that toast or that speech. It takes an incredible amount of courage to move past our fear. Over the years, we have learned to cope, to deal with unimaginable pain, pain that no one else can see or understand. I call it the invisible pain. We got through and we are still standing. Okay, I know that surviving a tough past, living through the trauma, can make you really afraid of what might be ahead in the future. And the thought that your future is going to be a repeat or just like that difficult past is enough to paralyze you with fear and make you dread what's ahead. I get it. But let's keep telling ourselves the truth. Look, I wish I could promise us all that the future is going to be sunshine and roses. I wish I could promise you only good ahead, but I can't. Because the truth is, there will almost certainly be sadness and tough times ahead for every single one of us. It is part of life. But let me remind you, we've been through tough times before. We know what it looks like. This is not our first rodeo. We've handled it before, and now we know we have the strength and courage to stand up to difficult days, to move past them. You and I can depend on ourselves to weather any storm. And the really good news is that in spite of those possible challenges ahead, there are for sure, absolute sure, going to be wonderful days ahead for all of us. New adventures, gifts, achievements, relationships, incredible moments, things beyond our wildest imagination. There is so much good waiting for us all in the days ahead, so much to look forward to. All we have to do is start telling ourselves the truth about the past and allow that truth, that recognition of who we are, who we truly are, people of grit and strength and power, and then allow that truth, that knowledge of ourselves to create our present and to allow us to imagine really astonishing possibilities ahead for us in the future. So here's the choice. We can continue living our lives in the rearview mirror, or we can remind ourselves we've been through tough times, we're still standing, we have proven we have what it takes to handle whatever shows up in our future. And when we tell ourselves a story about the future, we can now be sure that we can count on ourselves no matter what. If you find this fascinating, like I do, and if you're really interested in learning more about how to change that focus, to reframe your thinking, part 3 of my book, Calm and Sense, is a step-by-step guide to how to change the negative thinking and replace it with thoughts that bring a sense of calm and peace to your life. So, I don't know about you, but I'm done looking and living in the rearview mirror. Today, I am going to start looking forward into a future full of possibilities. I hope you will do the same. Until we're together again, I wish you peace, joy, and love.